mind just telling us a little bit about your background, Emma, and what your world is, what your work is, and what you do day to day?
Yes, so I'm from the US originally, and I got involved in sort of advocacy at my undergrad uni where I facilitated workshops about domestic violence awareness and healthy relationships to athletic teams and fraternities and sororities and things like that. And then I moved abroad to Edinburgh to do my master's degree in the sociology of emotion with a focus on how access to sex education as young people impacts us, our emotional health in adulthood, and how comprehensive sex ed is actually a human right because it sets us up in a lot of ways moving forward with boundaries and communication and family and friends, etc. And then in Edinburgh, I got really involved in grassroots campaigning around abortion care. So trying to have anti-harassment buffer zones around clinics that provide abortions in Scotland. And actually that campaigning experience is where I got my first freelance job, which was doing social media for a big tampon company in London. And then basically from there, I ended up over a couple of years building a portfolio of around 10 brands in the space. So bladder care, period care, gut health, menopause. And it was all really through word of mouth and who I knew and someone passing my name along and that sort of thing. So Elsie now is zooming out. It's my community for people who work in female and sexual health care, building on all the pain points that I learned, building my portfolio in the space. And so yeah, day to day is just running that and building that at the moment.
Why did you decide to start your own community as opposed to maybe find other ones? Because that's a whole load of additional kind of work to do on top of the day job, right?
Yeah, I felt like, well, so the sector of female and sexual health care is, I think, pretty unique in that it's super, super underfunded. It gets about 2% of like VC funding. And so there's a kind of a disproportionate reliance on freelance, part-time, flexible contract work to kind of accommodate for the funding landscape.
Yeah.
So I think, and also there's a lot of taboo around it and censorship and really specific sector-specific pain points. So while I think there'd be lots of value in joining other freelance communities as well, I felt like there was a gap missing for like a specific ecosystem focused on this space.
How did the project start? I mean, what was the first thing you do? You said, right, I want to start a space where people can hang out. How did you even go about that?
Well, so I missed out a part of my journey, which was that in 2021, I was put in a very strange position in the UK where my degree had finished and I needed to either get a full-time job, start a business, or move home. And it was completely COVID, so there was nobody hiring. And so I started, before I even built my portfolio, I started like a freelancing platform. And yeah, I look back on that with a lot of compassion because if you just list like every single thing a person could do wrong while building a business or a community, I mean, I was like 23 or something, and the government was like, if you want to stay, come up with a business plan. And so I don't know why still, I had never freelanced before, but for some reason I was like, oh, I'll build a freelancing community. So yeah, basically I initially did that kind of, I went self-employed or started a business kind of due to the situation that I was in with immigration. And so I kind of tried to build something that was really generalist and more for like purpose-driven people. And I think there's so much merit in that idea, but I was so magnetized consistently. I was like, if I worked for a cereal brand, I would be trying to do the intersection of nutrition and gut health and vaginal health. Like that's the sort of content that I was trying to bring other spaces because that's what I'm best at. So I think I just sort of followed, I tried to do something more general with my initial community idea. And then as I became more niche, I was like, actually, it's better to bring my specialism and skill set to this community. So yeah, that's sort of the evolution of the idea.
Tell us a little bit about Elsie then. What does the community offer? What type of people are joining? And what does a day look like in the Elsie community?
Yeah, so when I first started it, I really didn't know. Well, first off, so Elsie is the name of a Scottish suffragette who started the first female women's health hospital in Edinburgh, and she happens to be buried next to my flat, which I found out after I chose the name. So,
oh, amazing!
Yeah, so so much of my life and my career and my research and my campaigning has happened in Edinburgh. So even though it's global, I really wanted to do something that was an homage to that. So that's where the name comes from. And when I started it, I didn't know if it was just going to be UK people or I sort of just had like a loose idea of an offering and sort of said, well, we're going to just co-create as people join and keep building and iterating. So now, kind of to my surprise, is we have people from over 15 different countries. And on any of our calls, we'll have people from Canada, Germany, Colombia, Uruguay, all over the US, all over the UK. So it's really, yeah, there's people from all over, which I think is a testament to how prevalent this work is. People say that female and sexual healthcare is niche, when actually I think it's like probably one of the most commonly, pervasive topics that affects everybody. So I think the global nature of it highlights that. But also everyone's pain points in the community are quite different given different cultural contexts. So somebody who's building a product in Colombia is facing very different cultural taboos than somebody in Berlin. So it's great because people can connect and sort of see what other people in the world are doing. And I think there's a lot of learning that can come from that. So we've got people who are the types of work span copywriters, translators, product developers, coaches, curriculum designers. I mean, there's so many different types of specialties. And then the areas of expertise are the topics. Could be menopause, hormonal care, longevity, neuroscience, pelvic health. I mean, so there's really wide. And I think that's really great because I think that eliminates a big sense of competition because we're all in the same corner of the world, but really doing drastically different things. And so the community right now offers basically constantly updated access to channels of jobs, gigs, industry events, research opportunities, and volunteer opportunities. So basically the idea is just helping people eliminate the sifting and sort of enter and navigate the sector without having to search around as much for it. And then we also do one monthly webinar about different topics. So we've been working on like designing and pricing people's offering or where to start when you're building a portfolio, stuff like that. And then we also do like in-person and online networking events. So we'll do virtual networking where people from lots of different countries can come together. But we also we started in London for our in-person events, but we're hoping to do Berlin and Amsterdam soon.
How have you seen the community change over its time?
Yeah, it's still in such a like, somebody recently had said, I'm sure this is a cheesy phrase, but like building the plane as you're flying sort of thing. So I feel really like that. And it's, we have like such an active, like advocates, I'd say, like people who really care, who are in the community, who love to give feedback and fill out surveys and offer ideas. And so I'm really fortunate for that. So I think we're only in our first 10 months. So it's still like really evolving. And yeah, it's just that thing of, you'll never make everybody happy, especially when there's so many different time zones and cultural contexts and so many different pain points. But yeah, I think we're building towards something. I think for me, it was when you start a community, you sort of offer what you think people want. And then I think if you've got really like advocates, like I've mentioned, they're honest about what is serving them and what's not. And that refining process, I think actually we're still in it, but I think it's making the community stronger.
What are your ambitions for the community? I mean, you're saying obviously reacting to what people's needs are, but do you have a vision of what it might turn into over the next few years?
Yeah, I really want to be sort of like the hub for people to come and do work in the sector. And I think right now, I know this is not sector specific in terms of, on LinkedIn, you have a post and then you've got 400 comments, and then usually the person who posted it will just go with a referral anyway. And so part of what made me think about, like, what if those 400 people actually kind of turned towards each other and then they collaborated and they co-hosted a podcast or they co-created an event. And we've had people in our community do that, like some in Australia and somebody in London team up and host a workshop. And so I think there's a real power dynamic, and there's actually so much power that freelancers have when they come together. And when we get rid of the scarcity competitor mindset and you actually team up and you make a more multifaceted offering. So yeah, I'd love to see the power dynamic shift in terms of maybe an employer comes to me or comes to Elsie, or they see it, it's not even about making the money from that. Like, we've got a new members directory. So if we can just get the flow that employers or talent seekers are sort of coming towards freelancers versus 400 freelancers sort of going towards that one listing, that's sort of like a shift in the power dynamic that makes talent seekers' lives easier, as well as the people who are looking to just do really great work in the space.
What are the most common challenges that you're hearing from your community members? Are they freelancing issues? Are they issues within the particular sector which your members are working in? Is it a bit of a mix? What are you hearing most commonly from people?
So the three pain points I sort of kept in mind when building it was trouble finding work, trouble building community, and lack of sector-specific upskilling. So when I've been doing our kind of offerings, they all sort of link to, I kind of think of it like a life cycle. So designing and pricing your offering, pitching and self-promoting, sustaining the business that you've got, and then upskilling and evolving. And so, yeah, I think there's sector specific, I think, nuances to all of that, because how you promote yourself, for example, somebody might be really interested in the sector, but they want to keep themselves open to other sectors. So how do you position yourself as an expert, but not so niche that you take yourself off the table for other things? And then, upskilling and evolving there's a lot of, as censorship grows and the political landscape changes, there's a lot of new hoops to jump through with different regulations that different countries are rolling out. So I'm sure that there's freelancing things that people who aren't in the sector could benefit from in Elsie, but hopefully there's always that sector specific nuance to it.
There seems to be a bit of an explosion of communities towards the self-employed and freelancers, and it's interesting to see, as you quite rightly said, this isn't a niche topic at all. I mean, it's like more than 50% of the world. But having focus on a specific area, many freelancers are subscribing and joining multiple communities. What would you say is the kind of main reason why they should join Elsie over another community? Or do you think it runs quite effectively with being a member of multiple spaces?
Yeah, I think, there definitely is that fatigue, and that I think with Elsie, I'm really trying to change the way that we think about networking, more from a core perspective. So, it's really, I really don't want it to be just a job board or somewhere you visit and you get a gig and then you leave. I really think I did a pitch, and it was my kind of tagline was I think there's a direct correlation between the strength of our community and the sustainability of our business. And so I think investing in your community from a not transactional point, but really long-term relationships. And so a big catalyst of Elsie as well is I went through a massive breakup in Edinburgh, and I went from having a whole life, and then all of a sudden I didn't know anyone in the whole city. So the only way that I made every single friend that I have is I went to every single networking event I could find, and I related topics I cared about, and I went up to people and asked them if they would like to be my friend. And then a couple said yes, and then they introduced me to people, and that really is how every single good thing in my life comes from connecting with people who cared about the same things that I did and putting myself out there, both professionally and personally. So I would say with Elsie, I really I really hope that there's that difference. And I think if you want to be parts of different things, then you absolutely should be if they all serve you. But I really hope that this is something that can make people's lives better, both personally and professionally.
I mean, as you probably know, mental health is a big part of my passion and, the kind of emotional experience of self-employment and freelancing. How do members feel once they're in the Elsie space? What are they getting from it other than the amazing resources and network and connections?
Yeah, that's been one of my biggest joys, of seeing people utilize the space to make new friends and to visit each other. And so, for example, people will say, well, I'm going to Amsterdam for the weekend on my own. I don't usually do solo trips. I'm a bit nervous. Are there any Elsie members there? Because that designates as a safe person they could have a coffee with. So a member in London just went to New York on her own, and two Elsie members went to a show. And then somebody in London went to Australia for the first time and met up with an Elsie member. But we did a big survey at the beginning, about 6 months in, because I wanted to see what was working and what wasn't. And the biggest thing that I said, what shouldn't change as we grow? And people said the way that it makes me feel. And I did a sentence that said how I felt before Elsie and how I feel now that I'm here. And most people all over the world free wrote, before Elsie, I felt alone, and now I feel seen. So I really hope that people still, as it grows and as it all the bells and whistles that we maybe add on or take away. I hope that feeling of like a place of real belonging and you can come as you are. So like every Wednesday at 4 p.m. we have a 25-minute check-in where anyone could just tell me about the yoga class that they took or their new recipe they tried or something they're struggling with, and just a real thing that helps self-employed people feel like they have a sense of belonging.
That's really powerful. And I think when people are running their own business, they're thinking a lot of the time operationally. It's like, I need to get this work, I need to get the invoice done, what accountancy should I be using, what's IL-35, all that kind of stuff. And it's the emotional connection and feeling and all those small little micro interactions that perhaps if you've stepped out of employment, just saying hello to someone in the morning or having a cup of tea with somebody, you don't realise they're missing until they've gone and then they come back again. So it feels like it's a really important part of any community network, really.
Yeah. And I've had it as well where I get really entrenched in a team. You know, I work with a company for 6 months or a year and I'm a central part of it. And then whatever happens, the budget changes, whatever. And then all of a sudden you're part of a team and the next day you're not.
Yeah.
And I think that's the emotional part of freelancing that I've struggled with, is I really love collaborating and being around people. But when you work alone behind a laptop, live alone, everything, it's like, and all of a sudden your social stuff can just go away. I love having that idea of you've got a place that no matter what happens with your work, you're always welcome back at this space. I hope it gives you more gigs and I hope it teaches you new things. But at the end of the day, I hope you'll always get a response and there's always somebody here, like if you need anything.
And you've recently become a founding partner of the Community Coalition. Why is that exciting to you? What are you hoping to get out of this little misfit of people?
Well, I'm honored to be part of it because there's lots of people who I've been like, oh, they're just like just looking towards people for like inspiration. And I can't believe that I got invited to be part of it. But I think it's such a great, like what I've spoken about before with Elsie, of like really when you think with abundance and not scarcity, and you look at how you and other people are stronger together. So this is, I feel like it's an opportunity for me to walk the walk a bit, because it'd be easy to say, well, what if they take my members or I take theirs, or we, and I feel like everyone's just like, it's not that energy at all. It feels like a really lovely group of people. So it feels like zooming out on the like mindset that I have, granular with Elsie at the moment. And just, there's so much that I didn't start Elsie because I think I'm like the best freelancer ever. I always tell people that, like, it wasn't like, oh, well, I've got the best website, I'm the best at taxes, I'm the best at this. Like, I really felt the pain points deeply, but I haven't, whenever we're doing workshops with experts, I'm taking notes because I've brought them in because I don't know. So I just love the idea of pooling knowledge so that I can say, well, I don't know the answer to that, but I know somebody who's got a great workshop and I can send it to you.
Thank you so much, Emma. Thank you for the work you're doing. And where can we send people if they're interested in joining Elsie?
Yeah, so our website is veryelsie.com. And socials are Very Elsie, and then on LinkedIn I'm very active, so just Emma Ahlert on LinkedIn for lots of thoughts about the space in general, about my life, and about Elsie as well.